I think so.
Uh-huh.
I was in
Well,
touch with your brother a bit, but not for a long time as well.
uh, let me get my video on here.
Get your video on, dude.
Yeah. And now you can see me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, do I look familiar? A little bit older.
you look familiar. I hope
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah. So, I'm doing this book on shamanism, and the first person that came to my mind was, hey, Richard Grossman. Yeah. you know, yeah,
Yeah,
he's a perfect candidate for that.
I
And
am.
I have other people in mind, but you know, my definition of shamanism, it's kind of like maybe outside of the box, is anyone who has a unique perspective, on life and on nature. In my eyes, that person is a shaman, because most people think it's only indigenous. Uh, well, you're American, but also you're involved in the indigenous culture and with nature. So yeah, that's why I wanted to just even to reach out to you, as a good friend, and say hi. Hey,
Good, good.
boy, it's good seeing you. Catching up. After all these years, and I went through all your YouTube videos, and
Wow.
I thoroughly enjoyed them. I liked how you incorporate two things, in your ceremony. One is the musical aspect, because you were saying that at times, sometimes a ceremony may not go, according to plan. You have some people, maybe it's the first time and they somewhat, freak out. But music, yeah, and poetry, especially with your poetry, that you say, kind of helps put it back into balance. And
Mhm.
I really like that, that because it must be, at times, because you're and somehow you're leading people on a journey. I don't know how many people in a group, 15 to 30. I'm
Yeah,
imagining.
usually somewhere in that area.
Somewhere in that area. Okay. And also, that the aspect of the acupuncture, that's I never heard that before, and I think that's pretty powerful in my eyes, where you can, as you said in your talk, that what you can do in one ceremony, a person can come back for maybe 10 or 15 acupuncture sections, and you can accomplish it, in a matter of minutes or seconds, depending upon who the person is. So, I don't think I known you ever since, you went to acupuncture school. So that's many moons. I
That
remember you're
was
planning to go the last time I talked to
35
you.
years, 40 years ago, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a lot of moons.
exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I'm kind of interested in your journey. So maybe you can, give the people who are listening some kind of feedback. I don't know if you can even play like an instrument, for a few minutes, just to for me, music, and especially the type of music that you play really helps, to harmonize and bring people together for the general focusing of the journey inside. So
Yeah, I'd be
uh,
happy to.
yeah. So tell me how. I mean, let's hear about your personal journey. I'm really interested in the times that you spent in South America. I've been there a couple of times, but as a surfer. So I've been to
I was
for
surfing too, just in a different universe,
yeah, exactly, my different kind of wave.
different
Exactly.
kinds of ways.
Uh, and then when previously with my time, I spent some time in South America when I was a premi, just helping things out down there. But anyway, so yeah, let's talk about, your journey into an acupuncture, and then how that led, uh, for you for embarking on many more incredible journeys.
Sure. Well, acupuncture actually came as an offshoot of shamanism because that was my first interest.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
And,
Uh-huh.
that started when I was 16,
Oh,
when
really?
I
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
read the very strange Carlos Castaneda books
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I
and
read that. Yeah. Yeah.
took a bunch of peyote one day
Uh-huh.
and kind of had an experience that my mind couldn't explain.
Hmm.
And, that went on for a couple years of that kind of exploration of just taking various plant medicines and sometimes not plant medicines and exploring the internal universe that was there. And also, there was a side journey of recognizing that I had abilities to heal people. Although I had no foundation for it, I had no structure for it. I knew that if I put my hands on people, especially in an altered state, I could do things to them that weren't normal. And
Hmm.
even with animals, like when I was a young child, a friend of my parents had a cat. And one day I was at their house and the cat walked up to me and sat on my lap and let me pet her. And the person whose cat it was said she's never let anybody touch her before.
Wow.
So there was something there that was going on. I was probably under 10 years old then.
Uh-huh.
And so this fascination with this other universe that shamans live in started quite early. And then I went to India in 1971. I think that's where we met first. um God, that was a long time ago, like
Yeah. Yeah.
49 years.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's where we met, and
That's where we met. Yeah.
that
And
started
I
a more,
remember a couple days ago, 13.
yeah,
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 13. Yeah.
yeah. That started a more structured inner journey for me
Hmm.
of really exploring the fundamentals of life, the fundamentals of what life is, the fundamentals of what love is, the fundamentals of what joy is. And so that continued for a while. And probably when I was somewhere around 20, I started getting interested more in structured healing and started doing what was called Touch for Health at the
Yep.
time.
Yeah, I know that. I
And
did Touch for Health for a while. Yeah.
got very involved in looking at different aspects of what this natural healing world had to offer. And then I decided to go for it and joined acupuncture school. Spent 4 years learning, 4 or 5 years learning about Chinese philosophy and practicing Tai Chi every day and Qigong and different forms of exercise that were based on working the internal energies, while I was learning how to manipulate the energy with acupuncture needles and other acupuncture techniques, other Chinese medicine techniques. So I graduated from school, and due to life, I had some pretty difficult experiences happen to me. So I contacted somebody who worked with psychedelic medicines as a therapeutic, in a therapeutic way, primarily, although it wasn't called it then, primarily for working with trauma and PTSD and things like that, which I was quite full of at that point in my life. And I worked with him for probably about a year, and it was very powerful, very deep. And then one day he says, I have this stuff from Peru called ayahuasca. You should take this. It's amazing. And so I took the ayahuasca expecting something amazing, and had something that was far, far, far beyond what I even considered to be amazing, like going through lifetimes of healing work. Basically, like at the beginning of it, the first vision in it was I was in a Nazi concentration camp, full 3D immersion. Every sense was occupied with it except the sense of smell, thankfully. And I was stuck there. I could not do anything to get myself free of that particular state and that particular place, which was not pleasant at all. So I finally, like asked the medicine, really, what should I do here? What am I being shown this for? What's going on? And basically the medicine said, trust and forgive. Trust your experience and forgive everything.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
Everything. And I was like, forgive this. How can I do that? Trust and forgive. Forgive this brutality, this inhumanity. How do I do that? Trust and forgive. And then I realized that that was in the past, that image, past lifetime, collective vision,
Right.
collective unconsciousness, who knows what it was in me only as a memory. And that if I breathed through it, if I released it, if I forgave in the deepest possible sense, which is letting go of all connection to that event, it would change. And it changed into something worse and worse and worse and worse. And each time it was trust and forgive, trust and forgive. At the end of it, I felt cleansed. I felt like I knew my new path. This is the work I wanted to do. I knew it immediately at that point. And I took a hiatus from it. I did probably 6 more ceremonies, then took a hiatus for many years because I was an acupuncturist in a clinic trying to get a practice going and then trying to take care of people. And I had continuing education units to take and seminars to go to and books to read and people to see. And,
Hmm.
so I was
Life,
quite
right. Yeah.
absorbed in that.
Uh,
Um, and then after some years, many years actually, this idea popped into my head of what happened to shamanism, what happened to ayahuasca. And I ended up, because of another traumatic experience and just being kind of burned out on being in an office, I moved to Mexico for a couple of years. And in Mexico, I met my first actual ayahuasca shaman from Peru,
mhm.
who had very weak medicine and wasn't very good at working with weak medicine, but it rekindled a memory for me. I got sidetracked, got married to a Mexican woman, came back to the US. A couple years later, it was like I really wanted to start exploring this world again. So I started going to one-on-one and small group ceremonies in the US. And that just kept on getting more and more beautiful for me. It was never for me was it an overwhelming traumatic experience the way some people experience it. It was always full of love and full of heart and full of that feeling when you go to a teacher who knows what you need to learn.
Mhm.
The medicine itself, the spirit of the medicine, this consciousness of ayahuasca was teaching me. And so the opportunity came for me to go to Peru and to go to a conference in Peru. Basically, I checked out on one of the bulletin boards at the time, heard about this conference, wrote the person putting it on, and he wrote me back a day later and said, yeah, send me a syllabus of what you're speaking on. And at that point, who, me, I'm going to speak on this. I've done it like maybe 15 times, 20 times. I'm going to be a speaker.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, I usually will say yes to just about anything that's legal and moral when it's presented to me.
Mhm.
And so I said yes, ended up in Ecuador because we were going to escort a family of shamans from Ecuador to Iquitos by river, about a 7-day trip.
Oh, wow, wow.
So it was amazing time, really amazing time. But in this family, what happened, and this is really the very beginning of my real journey, is we did a couple ceremonies, just maybe 5 gringos, the shaman, his wife, and his son, who was also a shaman. And after the second ceremony, one of the gringos told the shaman that, well, Americans, we like the medicine strong. And my advice to everybody is never say that to a shaman, because he made a batch the next day that was so powerful that after we drank it in about 5 minutes, everybody was throwing up.
Mhm.
And we drank it. I'll back up just a moment. We drank it, and his son was sitting next to me, about my age. Kind of, we had an interesting nonverbal connection because I didn't speak Spanish then, but I could tell he was a friend. And so I drink it. It tastes really intense. His
Mhm.
son drinks it, sits down next to me, goes, "Okay, fuerte," which means how
Fire.
strong.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then the shaman's wife drank it, and he drank it. And then in 5 minutes, everybody except his son and me were hanging over the edge of the balcony throwing up.
Mhm.
His son and I connected on a psychic level, which went something like, "I'm not going to purge until he does." And he was thinking, "I'm not going to puke until the gringo does."
Mhm.
So we're holding this intense medicine inside of us. Intense, I mean, beyond intense. 100-year-old vine. You can't even see that anymore these days. Um, so after, I don't know how long, an infinite amount of several minutes, I think, I was starting to be greeted by all of the jungle spirits that were around us, these beautiful little beings that were kind of fairy-like looking, but not really, kind of sprite-like, but not really. They were just spirits in the jungle, and they'd kind of float up into my field of vision, look at me and say, kind of communicate, "We like you. You can stay. You're brave. You're doing this." A few minutes later, this energy is coming through the jungle. Like, I couldn't believe what I was feeling, like this crackling, snapping, real visible energy from about maybe 2 miles away, coming closer and closer and closer. And then standing in front of me was this about a 10 or 12 foot tall, naked, beautiful woman with purple skin, with 4 eyes.
Oh, wow.
And I'm looking at this being, and she's looking at me, and she said, "You've been playing before this. Now you're mine. We're lovers." And I was like,
Whoa.
"Okay." And that was the spirit of ayahuasca accepting me
Wow, wow,
into her universe.
wow, wow.
And it's since then it was a lot of study in Peru, a lot of good experiences and not good experiences. And a couple years after that, I was told by a shaman I was working with that I was ready to lead ceremonies. So in a very incompetent way, I did. And thank God nobody died. Nobody went crazy. Um, and since then, I've been doing the work, just
Wow.
getting more and more. Every ceremony I do, I want to make it the next one better. So I'm always fine tuning and perfecting things. And songs and music are what drive the ceremony.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
that's how I got into it, essentially.
Uh-huh.
It's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, yeah. That definitely sounds like you still like when you recall that vision with the image of shamanism, that wonderful lady who is the embodiment of ayahuasca. You still feel that, like when you close your eyes, that you have that same feeling that you had whenever that was ago.
Yeah, the connection is there. The connection is always there
Yeah, yeah,
for me. Sometimes
yeah,
I'm paying attention to it, sometimes I'm not.
yeah, right, right, okay,
And
yeah, yeah,
but that particular vision I've never had again.
yeah.
To
It,
my
it,
to
it,
my to my to my disappointment.
uh Don't you feel, the way I kind of look at life, the more you pay attention to something, the more attention it starts paying to you.
Yes.
Even like I remember, when I first started meditating, it took about maybe an hour of that when I first started, to get in sync with it. And over time, it starts meditating on you. So when you close your eyes, it's automatically there. And I'm sure it's the same thing with you, with uh, since ayahuasca is so much about being in harmony with Mother Earth. That each ceremony, I'm imagining, I'm just imagining, but as you say, you're fine tuning, so it gets easier and easier, and that bridge that between nature and you. Actually, there's probably no more bridge anymore because you crossed that bridge. I
Yeah.
think the thing is to cross the bridge, and then there's that the journey never ends, right?
Never ends.
You can never clap your hands and say, "Oh, okay, it's all over." Even if you meditate, for a trillion years, even for a trillion years, if you're doing this, there's always something more.
Yes. Yeah. Kabir, I think it was Kabir who said, what you are seeking is also seeking you.
Yeah, yeah,
The love you
exactly.
are seeking is also seeking you.
Yeah, yeah,
And, that's what it is if we pay attention.
right.
If a person is able to focus internally on what they really want is also focusing on them,
Hmm.
seeking them. And that's a beautiful dance. And like you said, I mean, on an infinite journey, there's no beginning and no end.
Hmm.
That's the definition of infinite. And because there's infinite wisdom, there's infinite knowledge, there's infinite love, there's infinite joy, no matter where I am on that journey, I'm still just beginning that journey.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still
yeah.
just scratching the surface.
Hmm.
We're still just beginning because infinity lies in front of us.
Hmm. Yeah.
And be it meditation, be it plant medicines, there's no as good as it gets.
Hmm. And for me personally, I think that they all lead you through the same door. There's
Yes.
many different ways, to get through that door. So that's why I think the older I get, the more I respect other people's journeys. Maybe I don't want that particular journey, but that person, that's their own personal journey. It's custom designed for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even right now, during this global shutdown, my personal feelings is, when I get in tune with nature, Mother Nature says, I'm shutting down the whole world. I'm sending you to your rooms, and I really want humanity to stop and think
Oh,
about their actions. And unfortunately, I think at times, especially here in the States, and during this time, we're spoiled brats. We're fighting about whether we should have a mask or not. Political. Hey,
that's
something serious.
crazy, man. It's just
You know,
crazy.
uh, I, I, and I think the older I get, my personal conviction, it takes probably about 1 million years for a civilization to get civilized. In terms of civilization, is not capitalism. It's not raping the forest. It's not building better cars. But for me, a true civilization is probably the indigenous people who have respect for the planet Earth. I think
Yeah.
I even I wrote a lot of poems on that. Who is civilized? The indigenous cultures who they know they don't own the land. Their ancestors, loved Mother Earth and communicated with Mother Earth. They didn't want to walk out of sync with nature versus what we have today, especially in the Western world.
Yeah. When I was my first ceremony in Peru it was a challenging ceremony for the shaman, especially. Uh, but at the end of the ceremony, he's talking a little bit, and he says to us, he said, "You Northerners, you think you're civilized with your computers and your cars and your money and everything else." And he said, "But look at what we're doing here. Look at the technology we have. Look at the beauty we're
Mhm,
manifesting. This is the true civilization.
mhm.
Living in harmony." I mean, the Amazon, like most people don't realize this. They look at the Amazon as being a huge wild jungle, but in pre-Columbian times, the entire Amazon was cared for by the people who live there.
Mhm.
There's evidence that many of the trees, many of the plants were cultivated in the entire jungle because the
Wow.
whole place was occupied.
Mhm,
And they lived there harmoniously for 30,000 years, maybe, in the
Mhm.
world's largest pharmacy. You know, the pharmacy that we have are minuscule compared to what the plant medicines and teacher plants, et cetera, that exist in the Amazon. You know, one of the things I do a lot is I Ching readings. I found that to be very valuable. And when the whole COVID crisis started, I did an I Ching reading for my community here. And what came up was so interesting because, you know, when you get a jaw-dropping I Ching reading, the first hexagram is amazing. And the one I got was pestilence or plague,
Wow.
which I'm looking at it. Is this real? Come on.
I
And it was the one, I checked it twice, 3 times to make sure it was the correct one because it was almost corny that I got that particular one. But what it said was so interesting. It said that pestilence and plague make things rot away, make the meat rot off the bones. And it said, allow this to happen. Don't
Mhm.
be involved. And, you know, the reading went on for an hour, but essentially, and then it said, don't be involved in politics.
Right.
It said that right in the reading. And the
Mhm.
perfect reading for that time, for our time right now,
Yeah.
is, you know, we're in the first time in human history that the entire planet is having the same experience.
Right. Right.
Every country has been affected by this. And, you know, my feeling about it is we can utilize this time because we're in the beginning of this plague. We're not in the middle of it. We're in the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Still,
Phase one's not even over yet.
phase one is not even over. So
Yeah.
we can utilize this as a punishment, as, oh, poor me, I can't go to the movies. Oh, poor me, I can't go to the bar. Oh, poor me, I can't have a party. Or what the I Ching reading said to do was utilize this time to go inside.
Mhm.
Utilize this time as a meditation retreat. In the Peruvian tradition, or the upper Amazonian tradition, there's this idea of dieta. And dieta means diet in English, but when it's used in context, it means so much more. And it's a time period when a person goes on a restricted diet, no salt, no sugar, no pork, no spices, no sex, no media, a lot of no's, and basically stays in a hut for weeks to months, sometimes even years, alone, without any human contact other than with your teacher. And it's a way to learn the powers and the medicine of different plants, because when your body gets very pure and very clean of all of the stimulants that we're so used to, you know, we live our life with stimulants. I have a hard time starting my day without a cup of coffee. You know,
Mhm.
we live that way. But when you're in the jungle doing this, you eliminate all of that stuff. And so when you take in the plant medicine, which has a chemical signature to it, and that chemical signature interfaces with our chemistry, with our body, with our brain, with our nervous system, with our spirit, and begins to teach, because we can hear, we're so tuned in, we're so empty of everything else that we can start to hear this one messenger in our
Mhm.
body. And it was basically like, this is an opportunity. We can choose to accept what's happening and benefit so greatly from it,
Mhm.
because who doesn't need to go deeper inside?
Yeah.
Who doesn't? I mean,
Yeah.
we all do. Who doesn't need to heal? We all do. Or we
Yeah.
can kick and scream and yell. And it's the same way with an ayahuasca ceremony. You can take
Mhm.
it as, you know, here I am.
Mhm.
Teach me, heal me. I'm
Yeah.
trusting this. Or we can scream and kick and yell and fight it. The difference is choice.
Uh-huh.
The difference is always choice.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing because during this whole time, being somewhat being in personal exile, you know, from the world, I had that Dao De Ching, you know, sitting on my bookshelf. So I could only open the book, and mind you, I had it for about 40 years. Open the book and read chapter one, and I couldn't read anymore. And then finally I thought, you know, I am going to go through this, chapter by chapter. So basically, I did that. Did all 81, and I wrote commentaries on that. And I couldn't believe, here it is. I had this incredible book of wisdom, sitting there, and yet when I took the time, because I have all the time in the world right now, that I can then digest, what was there, and I think Taoism and shamanism is they're talking about yeah, exactly
Yeah.
yeah
Taoism origined in shamanism.
yeah
The
yeah yeah.
first I Ching was written by what are known as the Wu, which
Mhm.
basically means shamans. Back, I think around 4,500 years ago is when it started. They were the ones who would throw the tortoise shells into the fire and study the cracks on the tortoise shell, or an ox scapula, study the
Mhm.
cracks on it, and from that developed the I Ching.
Oh well, okay.
It was
Oh
very shamanistic.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm the last 3 months since this whole or maybe 4 months, I have a deep respect for shamanism, and and the reason how I even got involved in this, I was meditating, must have been about a month and a half ago, and all of a sudden this, because I'm writing a lot of books. I wrote one on Jainism. I wrote one
Oh.
on Patanjali's, Yoga Sutras, so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, this bubble, came up, shamanism. And to be honest, I I really didn't know, too much about it. Yet at the same time, my lifestyle is pretty uh, shamanistic, in terms of uh, I been trying to live, with being in tune with nature and the universe, for years. Uh, my passions is surfing, poetry and meditating. So, I don't like, Western movies. We can be in, for me, I moment by moment, I want to be in tune, with myself and with nature. So no matter even no matter where I go, wherever I live, those that is my personal journey.
Beautiful.
So and because I think the goal is, for you, to help people, help individuals to come to you, to know that they can be a shaman in anywhere. They can be a shaman in their city, that they can be in tune with nature while they're at their work, while they're at the job. uh, Basically that kindness, those qualities that I imagine a ayahuasca is, the ultimate freedom, ultimate joy, ultimate happiness, compassion, patience, tolerance. I'm imagining those are the qualities of because it's all one, divine world, right?
Yeah. Ayahuasca has all that with the fierceness.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Well, everyone I've talked to, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, personally, my my body uh, is super sensitive. Last time, the first and only times I had anything was in South Africa. I had peyote. Uh, Miraji sent me down to South Africa, and uh, they sent me to Cape Town to prepare for his visit. This was in 1972. So a good surfer friend of mine said, "Oh, have you ever tried this?" And I said, "No, I never tried it." So I tried it, and it was the most, at the time, the most natural drug that I knew that brought me into
Mm.
that place inside. But I was told clearly, this road is not for you, because everyone has a different electrical system inside. uh, my brother and I, John had the same experience, years ago. I I that I can't tamper with my electrical system, but
Mm.
people like you have an entirely different electrical system, than I do. So what is food for one person is poison for another person.
Definitely.
So that's why I respect, totally respect the journey that you're on, and that's why I can see everyone is entirely different. The roadmap is different for everyone, and I admire, listening to the stories.
Yeah, they're fun stories.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So a present that right now, I guess you're in isolation. So the main way, how do you, are you just kind of doing doing interviews now through a Zoom? That's probably your the only media right now, right?
Yeah, I'm doing interviews. I'm doing patient
Oh,
consultations,
okay.
I Ching readings.
Uh-huh.
Uh, that's pretty much my life. I'm working on a book as well,
Okay. Oh, what's
and
your book on? What's the title?
uh,
Or is
we'll
it kind of
see. It's in
okay?
process.
Okay, not ready yet. Okay.
Not ready yet.
Yeah, I don't want to private any information that shouldn't come out. So
I'll let you know.
yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, what a journey,
What a journey.
yeah.
It's amazing.
So and I see over a period of time you got to be quite good, playing the didge and those various other instruments. I,
Most people don't run out of the room when I start to play. So
well, yeah, maybe I listen with a different ear. There was that one instrument that you had on the Sacred Sounds. It was only that thing was only about that wide. I don't know the name of it, but when you played I went to the Monroe Institute, years ago in was it or Virginia, and that they have that hemisync, and that instrument. You know what I'm talking about? You had something that was only about
was it a
that long.
whistle? Was it like
Yeah,
a
it was a
flute?
whistle. Yeah, exactly. But when you played that whistle, it was
Oh
just like
yes.
being at the Monroe Institute. It was hemisync. Bringing the left and right hemisphere of the brain together. So
Yes.
and what I like, what was true that you said, those sounds that you hear aren't the external sounds, but it's the sound of the resonates, harmonizing together. I don't
Yes.
know if a lot of people, got that, but uh, I was into hemisync for a while, uh, but that was like 30 years ago. But that just kind of brought me back, those same principles, even with the didge, and I think even the flutes, when you're in that state, probably in a state of ceremony, it just kind of helps, just kind of bring it all together.
Oh, the music is the ceremony in a big way.
Yeah.
That's what shamanism really is in the upper Amazonian tradition and in most traditions. You see a picture of a African medicine man, an African healer, Nanga, or a North American medicine carrier. They always have rattles or
Mhm.
a drum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Siberia, they have drums. They have the jaw harps. Uh,
Mhm.
every culture has their particular instruments, which tend to be not dissimilar. The jaw harp from the Siberian culture and from the Yakut culture, very similar in some ways to the didgeridoo of the Australian culture.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's been what I've been working on collecting is instruments and learning how to play as instruments from not all of them, but many different cultures
Yeah.
that
Uh-huh.
have at their origin shamanism. Shamanism is probably the root religion, probably the original religion of human beings.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And I like to imagine, the very primitive human beings this is a Terence McKenna idea, the very primitive, barely human beings walking along the plains of Africa, following the herds they were hunting, and seeing some mushrooms growing in some elephant dung. And is it food? Let me try, hop, 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 hop.
Hmm.
And the first human word spoken was, "Oh, wow." you know and from that, it's so natural,
Mhm.
clap your hands, to hit two sticks together, to get more and more sophisticated with the instruments, but still with that same primal idea of letting the music guide the experience. Because music, Aldous Huxley said it, next to silence, the closest approximation of God is music.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that was the exact quote, but close to that.
Mhm.
And so the music is such a big part of it. And in the Peruvian tradition, I keep on saying Peruvian, but it's Upper Amazonian tradition, they use what are called icaros, which are songs that the shaman sings. And, like you said, anybody can be a shaman, which is sort of true, but it's like anybody can sit in an airplane, but the pilot's the one who has
Yeah.
his hands or her hands on the yoke,
Right.
and so the shaman is the one who has their hands firmly on the stick, to guide the ceremony. And they do it with songs. The songs can be like, here's an experience I had once that I still jaw drop about. Um, I had been in the Amazon and I got a little bit sick in the Amazon, kind of a cold. I went up to the mountains and fell asleep as though I was still in the jungle, which was with no blankets on. Woke up in the middle of the night, freezing, 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 freezing cold, shaking, got really sick the next day, had to go back to the jungle a couple days later. I'm coughing like I've never coughed before. And I go to a retreat center where I was going to do some healing work. And I'm in the ceremony, I'm coughing, 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 and suddenly I start to feel my whole chest seize up. And I think I may be having an asthmatic attack, or, I didn't know because I was in the medicine. I didn't know what was going on, but I could barely breathe. I'm thinking I'm at least 3 hours from the nearest hospital, of which 2 hours is a walk through the jungle. If I'm really sick, I'm not going to make it. And the shaman called me up and sat me down in front of him and started singing to me, sang two songs. I go back to my seat, take a deep breath. That was beautiful. And 5 minutes later, wait a second, there's no congestion, there's
Yeah.
no coughing. I'm
Wow.
feeling great. The next day I asked the shaman what he did, how he did that. And he said, "Oh, I just sang a couple songs to your lungs."
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
my lungs healed. That was the
Wow.
end of that cough. That was the end of it. From being critical, almost critical, to, that was nice, you know.
So
So the songs become medicine themselves.
yeah. So it's kind of like, the most natural way of medicine through singing, which has been in the indigenous culture for thousands of years. In the West, we've totally forgotten it. It's just totally, we're totally divorced from what is truth, but we've closed the door. Would you say that's kind of like the case?
We've forgotten,
Yeah,
and we've been made to forget
yeah, yeah.
by culture itself.
I-
The European tradition of killing the witches. The witches were the medicine carriers. They
yeah.
were the magicians of the time,
Hmm.
and they were killed off. And in the Bible it says, "Thou shalt not suffer witches in thy presence," or something like that. That ancient way, the old ways, the ways that had worked for tens of thousands of years, maybe even hundreds of thousands of years, as long as humans have been humans, was repressed. In the Amazon, it didn't get repressed
Hmm. Right, right. Yeah.
until the missionaries got there, and now they're trying to repress it, but they're not succeeding.
Hmm.
So we're just waking up to what has been our natural birthright since we were humans.
Right, right. Yeah.
Music is the language of the spirit. not the language of religion, although it can be utilized that way, but it's
Yeah.
the language of the spirit. It's the communication from one being to another being's soul.
Hmm.
And when it's done in the way that the shamans throughout history do it, the song has the capacity to, you use the term wired, it has the capacity to rewire the body
Hmm.
into a state of greater health. Ultimately, shamanism is about healing. Ultimately, healing is about connecting to spirit.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So, there's like, I'm sick, heal me. That's one level. I'm well, make me better. That's another level.
Hmm.
I'm really doing great. Now I want to make this journey into the infinite path of the ancestors and of those to come, and into the heart. Kabir says, into the lotus that blooms at the spinning wheel of the universe.
Hmm.
So it's a continuum.
Yeah.
And a person can be sick and have that experience, of course, but in the shamanic tradition, first you deal with the physical, then you deal with the emotional, then you deal with the spiritual.
Hmm. Yeah, my viewpoint lately is we're all master chemists, but it is how we are mastering. The majority of humanity, especially here in the States, especially during this time, the faucet of adrenaline, they don't know how to turn it off. And
Yeah,
then basically, so once stress hormones, comes out, every inconceivable disease known to man will ultimately manifest.
yeah,
Whereupon, a person who is wise, you know, can actually monitor, what they think, how they feel, and instead of being leaves blowing in the wind, we can live in the center of the hurricane, and in that center is, that emotional state is freedom, joy, happiness, patience, tolerance. It's almost like Mad Magazine. Let me worry.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mayor Baba said, don't worry, be happy.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
That's the message. That's the eternal message.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That really is why not? I mean, a lot of people think that to be proper in this time period, we have to suffer because people are suffering. But, name me one time in the history of forever when one person's suffering helped another person not suffer.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about empathy. I'm talking about me going down into the
Yeah,
pits and getting
exactly,
stuck there, getting
exactly.
stuck there.
Right, right. Yeah.
But somebody who's in joy has the capacity, has the ability, has the almost the demand, because the universe demands this of us, is to reach down and pull the people out of the pits whenever you can,
Hmm.
into joy, into happiness, into health, into harmony. And that's how the world changes. It's not going to change from political action. It'll change some, but it's not going to change from fighting. It's never changed from wars,
Yeah.
only gotten worse and worse.
Exactly.
It's going to change from people opening their heart and
Yeah.
opening their heart. If I love, if
Hmm.
I am love, if my love is the center of my being, if that's what I mean when I say I or me,
Hmm. Yeah,
how
yeah.
could I see somebody else? you know Rumi said it, the gates of hell are open when one person sees another as lesser or greater than they are.
Hmm.
How could I see anybody as being lesser than me?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, color of skin doesn't matter, culture doesn't matter, society doesn't matter, language doesn't matter, anything. If I'm coming from that place of love, everything is a reflection and manifestation of that love.
Hmm. And even scientists know that, that even the
Yeah,
field,
yeah,
the quantum field, the quantum field exists in the entire universe, exists in all dimensions. It exists everywhere. It's beyond time and space, and and so and we're not separate from that field. It's not like, oh, the entire universe. Oh, hey, Richard, you're not a part of that.
yeah. No, we're not separate from it. Rumi also said, I just read this poem yesterday, so beautiful. One person suffering on one side of the world will make the entire world suffer. And one person's joy will make the entire world happy.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
You know, that's a big calling.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know what the limits of my joy are. I don't know where I am on this journey. I don't want to know.
Hmm.
I just want to keep going.
Yeah.
And if my joy has the capacity to bring others to joy, my life is a blessing. My life is a
Hmm.
gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if I'm in suffering and I'm dragging people down into my suffering, my life is no longer a blessing. You know, my life then is just selfish.
Hmm.
And not that people who are suffering are selfish. I don't mean it to sound like that. But, you know, suffering never heals suffering.
No, no, it doesn't. No.
You know, I have a saying that the part of you that wants to solve your problem is the problem.
That's a, that's a good one.
It's in the
Uh,
official Grossman refrigerator magnet collection, available on late night television.
yeah. Uh, well, well, I'd oh, how about you want to just play just a few minutes? You know,
Of
I would love
music.
to listen to some of the instruments. You
Sure, sure. All I have unpacked right now is a jaw harp. This is what I was talking about. It's a traditional instrument, goes back. Like, what's interesting about jaw harps is almost every culture on the planet has some variation of it.
Wow. Okay. Uh-huh.
Even in the Amazon, they take a stick and tie a string around it in a bow. In fact, it's called a bow.
Uh-huh.
And the shaman or the musician will put one end of it in their mouth and then pluck the string while they're changing the shape of their mouth.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know where they origin. This one is actually from Poland. It's not a Siberian Yakut vargan, but it has pretty good sound. And since I
Mhm.
have it on my desk, I'll play it for you.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to go into music mode now. These things only work when they're plugged in.
Wow. That was.
It's a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
I could actually do that for 20, 30 minutes just with that one instrument, and
Uh-huh.
it gets continually deeper and more amazing. And then flutes. I don't have any
What
flutes.
amazing, it's,
No.
like, in my room, it's kind of like there's a ocean, of love, it's just vibrating. And
Yeah.
isn't that incredible so music, even transform time and space.
Yes.
It's eternal, by tapping into that. Just think it brings in stuff from other dimensions that we have no idea. It's there at all times, right?
Yeah.
You didn't manufacture this, it was there, but that just through that music, that was a door that opened it up, and
Yeah.
a human being has the potential to see it and experience that. Wow,
Yeah.
that was incredible. Yeah.
The ideal in music, and especially shamanic music, is that the place where the magic happens is in the exact moment of now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't happen in the future. There's no future. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen in the past. The past doesn't exist. It's always in the exact moment of now. And what is the closest thing to the exact moment of now is, of course, the breath. We know that. But also, music is incredibly close to that. And the intellect, with this particular kind of music, the intellect is going to have a harder time listening to it. So it brings the person who's listening into the moment, into the magic, and into the almost trance-inducing state of what is being created in the moment for them.
Mhm. So it kind of brings, I think, the synchronization between, the mind and the heart kind of just
Yes.
goes, and
Yeah.
and right there, and in that point, then a person is not intellectual at that point. It's wisdom, not intellectual, and not chit chat. Oh, what's
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
here? Dissecting it, but just pure listening from them, that place.
Yes.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And I probably, in the course of like a ceremony or a concert, will go through probably 10 different instruments
Mhm.
from various cultures, anything from flutes to jaw harps to other interesting and strange toys, sound toys I have.
Mhm.
A couple
Wow.
modern ones. The instrument you were talking about, I remember it now, is a whistle, and that's a modern instrument.
Oh, it is. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
I have an ancient one, two ancient whistles that do similar stuff as far as the synchronizing the brain. That may have been what you heard actually. It was online because it was probably too old. I think they're from the Nazca culture in Peru,
Mhm.
the culture that made the Nazca lines.
This was at a seminar that you gave on sacred music and
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Uh-huh.
That I don't remember exactly what I
Okay.
played there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was a good one though. It was fun.
But I like to catch up, on people what they're doing. So I spent time, going through your site and
Thank you.
watching the
Yeah.
YouTube videos. And I, I'm really, I wrote a book called Family and Friends. So I talked about 500, and 40 people, from the day I was born to almost, to the
Oh,
present. And I, for me, I love to see the web of love, of light that ties us all together. Just think, we haven't talked to it in probably, over easy, for 45 years. And yet, it's just like when you got on, it was just like, yes, yesterday. So,
yeah.
so, so,
Hey, Rick,
so,
our faces look different, but our souls are just the same.
exactly. Yeah. And we're both Richards too.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Different manifestations.
Yeah. The beloved, Richard means beloved.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I uh, don't don't know if I have anything to say. You want to, you have anything else you want to say in the last, parting final words?
I think we covered so much in this. Unless you have a question, I feel pretty complete.
Uh, no, but only thing is, we should talk, not in 45 years later, from now.
Yes.
But it's nice, to meet someone who's on the same wavelength. To be honest, I live here in Kansas City, and most people that I know, I can't talk like what I do to people like you. So it's good, to have that sounding board, and
Yes.
and I'm extremely, happy and pleased, that we had this wonderful conversation.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. If we wait 45 more years, we'll both be playing harps or something like
Yes.
that.
Well, what I look at it, what I'm, trying to do, my vision is 150. And reason why I'm saying that, because I think what we think, I have some friends who want to retire when they're 60 because they, by the time they're 80, that they will, that they won't be in good shape. But physically, I take care of myself. I do like qigong every day. I do yoga, meditate, eat good food, and my personal thing is that I may be wrong, but my attitude, I think, carries me over in my day-to-day life. I've hardly ever been sick in my life. I believed in preventative medicine ever since I was 18 years old, and I don't buy, Western medicine, because for me that's push-pull medicine. Any medicine you take, it's got a side effect. So. Yeah, I really think, that especially with the way technology and also the spiritual evolution is going, I think we can live a long time. I mean, I want to live as long as my body is productive, and I have that sense of adventure inside of me. That's my goal. So many of my friends, when they get old, they kind of give up, and when you give up, then the body gives up and the mind gives up, and
Yeah.
so. But that's my personal soapbox.
It's a good soapbox. It's a good one.
Yeah, and so far it's working for me.
And I mean, if you're living like that and you don't live to 150, you've lived a much better life for however long you're here.
Exactly.
The whole purpose is to enjoy the moment.
Uh-huh.
It's easier to enjoy the moment if you're healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, all my friends are going through ailments, and well, for me, I'll wake up every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. I meditate, I write, and yeah, I just I'm in harmony with nature. So, and I think when you're in harmony with nature, nature will take care of you. That's my viewpoint. When you love nature, nature will love you.
Yes.
Even during this precious time, I don't know, what's really going on in this world. I'm in this bubble, and this bubble is saying, enjoy every single moment while you're alive. And I have a feeling you're in the same wavelength as that.
What's great is, for the most part, if you see somebody who's lived over 100 years and you ask them what age they are, they'll go, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care.
Yeah, right.
There's I read this a long time ago. There's 3 secrets to living past 100. The first one, most important, is you never tell anybody your age.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Very few people know how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to forget how old I am.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I don't care.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah.
The second one is, this is an interesting one. You don't go to doctors unless something is really broken.
Yeah, yeah.
The third one is, you have work or a lifestyle that has you sitting on the floor a lot.
Hmm.
So you're always getting up, getting down, getting up, getting down,
Yeah.
like the Karate Kid, right?
Right,
Check it on,
right.
check it off, check it on, check it off,
Yeah.
stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And, just by doing that, your body is healthier and stronger and more limber.
Hmm.
So just those three is
Yeah.
like a really good practice anybody can do.
Hmm. Yeah, also do the age thing. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody ever guesses my age
Uh-huh.
or my astrology sign. I stopped telling people what that is.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise they put you in a box, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you put yourself in the box.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh man, I'm 70. I'm really old now. I might as well start acting like I'm really old.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a lot younger than I am now, I was at my parents' house and I was doing some yoga postures. I think I was doing scorpion. And my dad looks at me and he says, "You're too old for that shit now." you know, like, no, I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
doing it.
right.
So live a life, live a life that you enjoy, live a life of happiness.
Mhm.
Forget how old you are, and who knows?
Yeah, yeah,
Who
exactly.
knows? Our bodies are mostly limited by our minds.
Yeah, I
And
agree with that 1,000%.
every time
Yeah.
I tell myself, well, you're X number of years old, you should be acting, doing this, or this is going to start breaking out. I'm giving myself affirmations, no formations, what
Mhm.
is called nocebo effect. I'm giving myself a nocebo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not going to make me healthier. It's going to make me less healthy.
For me, like I'm rewiring my my entire nervous system. But I think we're in our subconscious. Basically that just think that drives 95% of our actions, and it's 5% conscious. So just think over the years we start learning how to reprogram. I've been a computer software engineer for 35 plus years. So I'm using that analogy, of writing a software program. So daily, I'm going into my subconscious and I'm planning it with seeds, which you water every day. You take out the weeds, and any kind of hardships, burdens, sufferings, remorse or pain, taking those out and then watering seeds of patience, tolerance, kindness, happiness. To be in a place, no matter what happens, if you just kind of shrug, well, I'm not gonna act on that because I'm not gonna get angry because Buddha once said that when you get angry, you're drinking your own poison. And scientists have actually proved that.
Oh,
Scientists know that's the truth.
do you know how long it takes the brain to respond to a thought and then create chemicals in order to make that thought congruent? You make your body congruent with that thought.
Probably almost instantaneously, doesn't it?
It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
exactly.
fast. So if I
Yeah.
have a negative thought, instantly my brain is manufacturing chemicals, does it automatically, to influence my body in a way that's congruent with that thought.
Hmm.
It's a survival skill when it's done properly. A lion jumps out in front of you, you've got only three choices. You fight it
Exactly.
off, you run away, or your lunch.
Hmm.
Unless it's dinner time, then your dinner. Those are the three choices, three possibilities you have. When the lion jumps out in front of you, your body creates the catecholamines, the adrenaline, the neurotransmitters to allow you to fight or run away,
Hmm.
fight or flight. Uh, The problem
So
is that because of society, because of the way that we're programming ourselves, we're living in a chronic state of fight or flight.
exactly, exactly. Mhm. So it can happen to anybody in a fraction of a second, but a wise person can recognize that and automatically change, their focus, for trust, for patience, compassion,
Yeah.
tolerance in the situation, and then the mind creates the chemicals gets released and creates the emotion, and a person goes, no big deal.
Yeah, those chemicals communicate to every single cell in the body.
Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Right. Uh-huh.
I would rather communicate to my cells peace and love and joy and contentment than I would strife and anger and fear and disease and
Mhm.
happiness, because my body will naturally be in congruence with what I'm thinking, the messages my brain is sending to my body.
Mhm. Now, how would you say like the indigenous people today, are they most of them still reflective that, because they're in contact now, with Western man. I'm sure their societies kind of turned somewhat upside down. A lot of
Mhm.
changes are going on. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been to the jungle,
yeah.
like a really long time, 7 years, 8 years. So I don't know what the environment is there now.
Yeah.
When I was there, they're people just like us.
Mhm.
They're not different because they're indigenous. I never got to experience an uncontacted tribe, because if I experienced them, they would no longer be uncontacted. But I would imagine that in those deep jungle, uncontacted tribes, things are quite a bit different
Mhm. Yeah.
because they don't have any idea about the outside world.
Right.
Um, but in the people in the cities and along the rivers, they all have TVs. They get together every night in the community room and watch television together,
Mhm.
and so they know what the outside world is.
Yeah.
And a lot of them want that. They want the
Mhm.
sparkle. They want the televisions and cars and computers and telephones and good clothes and all that. Um, Usually the younger ones want to move to the cities and get an education.
Mhm.
Sometimes they come back as doctors or as, engineers or something to help their village. Sometimes they
Mhm.
don't. But, everybody's, like I said at the beginning of this, we're all undergoing a worldwide experience right now.
Yeah.
The Amazon is being devastated by COVID-19.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of the old healers are dying. A lot of the old medicine men are dying.
Wow.
Medicine carriers are dying from it. So we're all having the same experience now, which hopefully when this pendulum swings, it's going to be an amazing time,
Mhm. Yeah.
because it will swing eventually. We know nothing can stay unchanging for very long.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
As the I Ching, teaches, change is the only constant in life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything's going to change. Yeah.
Oh.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rick. I think I'm done.
Huh. Yeah. I just think I may be John, because since I was a twin, my mom had to put fingernail polish on one of us. So she may have accidentally placed it on Rick and thought it was John.
Oh my God.
So my
How do you live with that?
Yeah.
Do you have nightmares at night?
No, fortunately, John and I are so close. It doesn't matter if I'm John or Rick. There is something about twins. And
Yeah.
and especially, John and I knew we never came from this world. We always, basically we're strangers in a strange land. From day one, we knew that. So if I'm John, then it's an honor to be John.
Yes. Oh,
Oh, Richard.
good reconnecting with you, brother.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, yeah, yeah. this has been awesome. Yeah, definitely
Thank you.
enjoyed this.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Blessings to you.
yeah. Okay. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank
Uh-huh.
you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.